One of the interesting things to look for here in this Dillian Whyte Povetkin fight is what weight Dillian Whyte is going to come in at. Now, I would say what weight Povetkin is going to come in at as well, but Povetkin has been notoriously consistent with his weight throughout his career. In fact, let's slide on over to Povetkin's BoxRec page here, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So right now, Povetkin is 40 years of age. In his last fight, he was 229. Let's go to his pro debut. His pro debut, he was 223. I mean, you look, a couple fights ago, he was 226 against Hughie Fury, 222 against Anthony Joshua. Now think about that. He was 38 or 39, I think 38, when he fought Anthony Joshua at 222. And that's a pound lighter than he turned professional at back in 2005. I mean, that is that is remarkable for a guy across all those years to be able to maintain that same type of weight. So Povetkin has been tremendously consistent. He has fluctuated between the low 220s and the high 220s his whole career. Has he ever actually weighed 230 pounds? Okay, against Mike Perez, he weighed 232. Was that his career heaviest? Chigayev, he was 231. Okay, so his career heaviest was 232 against Mike Perez. And that was a first round knockout. 231 against Chigayev. So again, tremendous consistency from Povetkin. How old was he when he turned pro? We're in 2020 now, and he's 40 years of age. So he turned pro 2005, 15 years ago. So he would have been 25 years old, there or thereabouts. And he weighs the same now, basically, as he did when he was 25. Remarkable, right? I mean, even for a professional athlete, that's remarkable. You won't find many boxers who weigh the same when they're 25, weigh the same at 40 as they did when they were 25. So kudos to Povetkin for staying in shape and having that level of consistency. But anyway, getting back to Dillian Whyte and the main point of this video, what weight will Dillian Whyte come in at? Now, just to compare him to Povetkin, Dillian Whyte nowhere near 40. He's 32. He turned professional, to be fair, 252, wasn't in the greatest of shape. And by the way, that's a caveat I should add. If you're the same weight at 40 that you were at 25, but you weren't in shape at 25 and you are in shape at 40, that's a different type of situation. I'm talking about, generally speaking, you're in shape when you turn pro. So if you're still in that kind of shape when you're 40, hats off. That's very unusual. With Dillian Whyte, wasn't in the greatest shape on his debut, but after that, he was in the low 230s and high 220s. You see here, his second professional fight, 230, 226, 231, 229, 234, 233. You see it there? Now, as he progressed, he started, climbing in weight, as is normally the case, and he was up and down a little bit. He was up as high as the 250s, then he was coming down into the 240s. Did he go back down into the 230s at any point in his career? Other than the very early stages? No, I don't think he did. The last time was in 2012 when he was in the 230s. Other than that, he's been in the 240s since. His loss to Anthony Joshua is 247. So the reason I say this is because every fighter has an optimum weight. Has Dillian Whyte discovered his optimum weight yet? Because his last fight against Mariusz Wachowski was a career high 271, and he looked very plodding and not particularly good at that weight. I have to imagine he's going to be a lot lighter here for Povetkin, but how much lighter? Will he be the 259 he was against Rivas? Will it be the 246 he was in the Chisora rematch? One thing I noticed about the Chisora rematch is that Dillian Whyte's work rate was a lot lower than normal. And I'm wondering if he was maybe a little drained because of the intensity of his training camp for that fight. And that was reflected in his relatively light weight. Because against Parker, he appeared to have a better work rate and more energy. I know he gassed late in the 12th round, but, you're going to, irrespective if you're the size of Dillian Whyte, 246 or 258, you're going to gas late in the fight if you're fighting at that kind of pace and at that kind of intensity. But yeah, I do wonder whether the intensity of his training for some of his training camps leaves him a little drained when he gets into the ring. Maybe not timing the wind down, because in a training camp, you don't train at full throttle all the way until the day of the fight. Yeah, you obviously leave a period of winding down where your body is able to rejuvenate and regain its energy stores and restore its testosterone levels. And you really have to get it down to a science where you know exactly when to start winding down the intensity of the training. Some fighters start winding down about 2 weeks before the fight. Other fighters leave it to maybe 7 days before a fight. I mean, there are some fighters who even spar literally a couple days before they're set to go in the ring and have a contest. Other fighters, they don't spar, they stop sparring maybe 10 days before, sometimes 2 weeks before. People do it differently. All fighters are different. There is no one-size-fits-all method for everybody. You have to find what works for you. And so what I'm trying to discover here is what works for Dillian Whyte. He's been over there in Portugal for several months now training in the heat. Is that going to help him or is that going to hinder him? Will he come into this fight drained because of the intensity and the heat on top of it? Or will it actually help him? Will he feel more energized, absorbing all that vitamin D, etc., and then look better than ever in this Povetkin fight? Because personally, despite Povetkin's age, I think this is a very dangerous fight for Dillian Whyte. At a minimum, I'm expecting Dillian Whyte to get hurt in this fight. Even if he wins, I'm expecting him to get hurt. And the reason I say this is because Dillian Whyte has been hurt by multiple opponents. He got hurt in his last fight against Mariusz Wach. And I know Dillian wasn't in great shape, but Mariusz Wach is an older guy as well. And he certainly doesn't have the skill level of a Povetkin. He was hurt against Robert Helenius. He was obviously knocked out by Anthony Joshua. He was dropped by Joseph Parker and hurt in that fight. He was dropped by Oscar Rivas. And there are probably some other fights that people will point out and say, oh, Dillian was wobbled in that one as well. So Dillian Whyte has been hurt and wobbled, dropped in multiple fights. And going in there against a guy like Povetkin, who is very accurate. This is not a guy who wastes a lot of punches, Povetkin. When he throws them hooks, them power shots, he tends to land clean. And this is part of where Povetkin's power comes from. Because if you're to talk about just brute force behind the punch, I don't think Povetkin hits as hard as Dillian Whyte in terms of just pure brute force. But because Povetkin is so accurate when he throws, he tends to land on your chin and he turns his punches over very well, the knuckle part of the glove. And he's sneaky, Povetkin. He can come forward and he throws these very short punches, which you often don't see. Just ask Anthony Joshua. Because in that first round against AJ, he had AJ hurt at the end of that round. He bust his nose. Yeah, and that's not just the brute force of the punches, because he obviously has some brute force behind his shots, Povetkin. It's the accuracy and the fact that AJ didn't see them shots coming. Because Povetkin is a lot more sophisticated on the front foot than somebody like Andy Ruiz, for example. Now, he doesn't have Ruiz's hand speed, although Povetkin's hand speed is not bad at all. In fact, Povetkin makes up for that, he's got decent hand speed. His hand speed is not as good as Ruiz, but he's more sneaky with his attacks, and his hooks are tighter than Ruiz's hooks. So Ruiz, a lot of the time, yeah, he throws tight hooks occasionally, but quite often Ruiz is throwing wide arm hooks. Yeah, and even though they're very fast, you can see them in your peripheral vision. Whereas Povetkin, more sophisticated than Ruiz, he'll come in low. He'll feint as he's coming in low. He'll get you to throw a shot at him, open yourself up, and then bang, he's hit you with a real short, tight left hook or tight right hand over the top. So he's sneaky with it, Povetkin. And Dillian Whyte is going to have to watch out for that here in this fight. So it's going to be interesting to see how he approaches it. It's going to be interesting to see where his energy levels are at. I know he's been sparring some real hard rounds with his one of his fighters that he manages, Alan Babbage, who's a very, very aggressive guy. And I know they've been going at it, hell for leather in them sparring sessions, I'm sure. But is Babbage as sophisticated as Povetkin? I suspect not, and they've also had headgear on and big gloves. So will Dillian Whyte's energy levels be where they need to be against Povetkin? And, Povetkin, a 40-year-old man, of course, he's going to fade down the stretch, you have to imagine, particularly if it's a fast pace in the early going. But will Dillian Whyte decide to stand and trade with Povetkin from early? Will he mix it up? Will he be looking to move? Both guys are around the same height. Dillian Whyte, I think, has got longer arms, so he should be able to have an advantage on the outside. But again, it depends on how well he can move, because Povetkin is quite good at cutting down the range. We saw that against Anthony Joshua, right? He can cut the range down, particularly early in a fight, maneuver his way inside and let shots go. So, going to be a very, very interesting fight. And as I say, at a minimum, I think Dillian Whyte is going to get hurt here. Yeah, given what's happened in the past and given Povetkin's ability and skills, I anticipate seeing Dillian get hurt. Will he come back and win the fight? We'll see. I would say, if I had to put my money on it, I would say yes, Dillian Whyte wins the fight. But I'm not so confident as many other people are, particularly those who are dismissing this fight, because there's a section of the boxing public out there dismissing the fights that, Povetkin's old. He drew with Hunter in his last fight, and Hunter's a blown-up cruiserweight. This fight is rubbish. I don't think this is a rubbish fight at all. I think this is a really, really good fight and a really tough fight for Dillian Whyte. Now, if Dillian Whyte goes out there and just smashes Povetkin to pieces and dominates, then I'll take my hat off and say, obviously, I got it wrong. Dillian Whyte winning, yeah, that's more than just a possibility. It's probably a likelihood in most people's eyes. But Dillian Whyte winning easy? I don't know. To me, that would be impressive. I'm not anticipating Dillian Whyte winning in a dominant fashion where it's easy and he doesn't get hurt or have to come for any adversity. I'm anticipating a tough, tough fight for Dillian Whyte. And hopefully it'll be an entertaining one for the fans. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hopefully there's no injuries or cuts or any business like that. Hopefully the fight reaches a satisfactory conclusion whereby it's a clear knockout with no controversy or a clear points decision with no controversy. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about all the points I've raised in this video. What is Dillian Whyte's optimum weight? At what weight is he, best functioning at? Whereby he's got good energy levels, but he's also able to move when he needs to. Not that Dillian Whyte's ever going to be fleet-footed. He's not Muhammad Ali. But when he needs to be a little bit mobile and move around the ring, maybe get a break on the outside, pop in a jab. What is the best weight where Dillian Whyte is at his optimum? Let me know in the comment section below. It's happening, I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.